you ask Bob Ray Sanders what he does, he'd probably say he covers the courthouse. Now, he doesn't mean he covers this huge building behind me literally like snow or a paint job. What he means is that he works here. He's a reporter for the Star-Telegram, and his beat is the Tarrant County Courthouse. He comes down here every morning, along with other reporters, and goes around checking records, talking to public officials, asking questions. Well, as some would say, generally making a nuisance of himself. He doesn't do this to satisfy any perverse curiosity, nor to sell newspapers, as some people say. Bob Ray and reporters like him do what they do because most people have neither the time nor inclination to hang around courthouses and other public buildings checking up on public business.
As I understand it, Skeet was the only one who was in favor of going on with the inquiry?
Well, now Skeet really wasn't even in favor of it in a way, because he said people should be able to come to the commissioner, court.
Well, he said they were having an open invitation sort of thing. They would not go to them individually and say, come here. But he said they could meet with them anywhere they wanted to at any time. And by no means would they whitewash. So I don't know.
They didn't do anything.
Yeah, what does your story say this afternoon?
It says essentially that they didn't do anything.
One veteran Fort Worth newsman told me that Bob Ray Sanders is the best reporter in town. He said Bob Ray has more energy than anybody else, so he's always in the right place at the right time.
Well, from what I understand this morning, Skeet is still the driving force behind this, and the others have backed off a little bit. Well, I know what Howard Green wants to do. But I am still working. I'm still investigating on the thing myself. I'm not going to stop yet.
Another reporter, a colleague, told me Bob Ray has something weird going for him. People are always just walking up to him and giving him stories. So you check these dockets every day?
Oh, of course. What I do is come in here and check this book first because it contains all the suits that are filed during the day. And I usually check it. This is usually my last thing. And that way I can find out exactly how many were filed, and if there are any important things, I can just go right over there and find out what the suits say and what they allege. And of course, often there's nothing but people trying to get their money, banks filing suits against individuals for non-payment. But occasionally there are some good things.
You have to learn to recognize something that might be news from the jargon and the...
Well, from this book alone, I can tell what court it's in, who's suing who, what kind of a suit it is, if it's personal injury or damages or whatever.
Now, for the minor things, you were telling me something about this feature I see by the Star-Telegram that's pretty widely read.
Of course. Well, that comes from this office, too, because it contains suits that were filed, divorces asked, and these are all recorded here.
That's the one that's in 6-point type.
Yeah, it's set in agate, and it also includes the fire calls, and at one time it included all the accidents answered by the police department. We no longer do that. But it used to be that the reporter covering this beat would have to sit down and type up all of these things and for the Star-Telegram. But now the paper pays someone down here to do it, and all I have to do is pick it up.
That's progress. In the old days, we had to type it. What kind of reporter is Bob Ray Sanders?
I don't like to talk about competition. He's good.
Jim?
I really don't know the how or why of it. I just know that he beats me on a lot of stories that I'd rather he didn't beat me on.
You grew up in Fort Worth, you tell me?
Yes, I did. I was born here, as a matter of fact, and never left except for summer vacations, which are usually spent in Detroit running around, and sometimes in California or somewhere. But for the most part, all of my years, 25 of them, have been spent in Fort Worth schools.
Did you major in journalism?
Yeah, I did.
Where?
North Texas State. I knew that that's what I wanted to do when I was in the 9th grade, and I started preparing for it.
How did you know that?
Well, I first wrote a piece for the editorial page, a letter to the editor in the Star-Telegram, and it got printed. And I started getting a lot of calls and letters, and that's when I decided that I could communicate through writing, and I wanted to do it. When I came down to the courthouse for the first time, I was told that I might run into more discrimination here because of, quote, rednecks, unquote. I haven't run into that discrimination. I think it's worked in reverse. I think people have gone out of their way to help me because I'm black, to show that they are not prejudiced in any way, so they will work a little harder to help me.
But this week here in Fort Worth, you accomplished or achieved what used to be called a scoop. Would you tell us about that?
Well, yes, I think what you're referring to is the investigation by Commissioner's Court of alleged irregularities in County Clerk Ed Lofton's office.
Yes, that's one.
And my stories about that investigation, based primarily on sources that I received in private conversations with the commissioners. Of course, each reporter, as I think you might have found out earlier from Terry and some of the others, has a source. And a source will sometimes tell you things that are not worth writing about, but sometimes they tell you things that you feel you must because, as again, the public has a right to know. Well, when my sources told me of this, and then I went and found others who told me about some allegations in the county clerk's office, I went to Commissioner's Court and talked with the commissioners about it and continued my investigation. And after investigating, I felt it was time to write.
This is a story that involved a charge, or an alleged charge, against a certain public official. What did the paper, what kind of thing? You were talking about talking with the lawyers and so forth.
Well, yes, anytime you have a story of this magnitude, of course, the decision as to whether it will run will not rest with me. So we had a conference of the editor, the managing editor, the city editor, and myself. And of course, anytime you're talking about allegations, you're talking about the possibility of libel. So it's necessary to make sure that the paper is safe on it and that everything that you have is the truth. There's no malice on the part of the reporter. I mean, anybody out to get anybody is what I mean. And we talked it over at length. And the editor came back down at night and waited for me to finish writing the story and read it and felt that it was the kind of story that should be printed in the paper.
In other words, these things are not just done on a whim.
No. Never do I just take a rumor and run with it and saying rumor has it. And you go into it, you investigate it, and you don't stop after one story is published. The average citizen is paying taxes, and he doesn't know his county officials at all. He doesn't know what goes on in the courthouse, and he's depending on the newspaper and the TV people and radio people to tell him. And unless they get this report at 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock or in the morning before breakfast, they don't know what's going on. They don't know how to vote. They don't know how to react to a situation, a bond issue, for example. And they're depending on us. And because I feel this responsibility to the public, I'm going to keep searching and make sure that they are informed because they do have the right to know. Of course, I wish we could get some county officials to think that way.